Guys, I have something new to show you, and it is purely this sign that I've made for this month, and I'm very excited about it. I did, however, get ink absolutely everywhere trying to make this, and including on my ear, because I put earrings in, not realizing I had like marker ink all over my hand. Yep. So if you didn't watch last month's book videos, sorry, this is just in here to hold this because without a single book in here, it will fall backwards. So yes. If you didn't watch last month's book videos, you'll know that I got this refrigerator storage container to use to hold the books in my video. And it had these ugly lines on the back that were not very fun to look at. So I put some paper in here, and while I was doing it, I was like, you know what if I make a sign? And I was super excited about that, so I made it. And yeah, I would take it off and like give you guys a closer view, like closer than before, but I removed it and then I couldn't center it again, and then it's like still kind of off center, so it's fine. We'll just deal with it. But I'm very excited about that. Yes, but hello everyone, and welcome to whatever this video is gonna become. My name is Zarina, and welcome to the first half of my February books. For this video, we're gonna do 7 books that I've read in February because it is currently February 24th, and I'm at 14 for the month. There is one DNF in there that will be in part 2. But I don't know what possessed me while I was doing the reading for this month, because if you saw my January video, you know, like I read kind of heavy in January and then it like tapers off, but apparently it didn't taper off this time. So yeah, I do, however, I'm not expecting to read that much this week. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I should be tapped out at 14 for the month.
At 14 for the month.
That should be the end. So let's get started with the first 7 books that I read in the month of February. Yay! So the first book that I read for the month of February, it was actually a reread, and I was super excited about it, and it is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali Hazelwood. If you know, you know, yeah. I love Ali Hazelwood, and this is my favorite book. It's actually a little bit darker than her, what she usually writes. I feel like excluding Bride, because Bride is like kind of more intense, but like it's also fantasy, and usually she's more in like the contemporary romance sphere. But in my brain, I didn't really like Bride, so I don't really include it in the total. Sorry if you like Bride. I ended up rating it a 4.5 stars this time around, which I think is 0.5 higher than I did last year, which I think I rated it a 4 star. That sounds right. Yeah. If you've never read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, it is about a woman. Her name's Rue. She works at a biofuel company. She's really introverted and has a close group of friends with, that includes the owner of the company and her best friend from like childhood. And she's not really a relationship type of person. So one night she goes out to meet like a hookup basically, and it gets interrupted, and she breaks her rule of never like seeing someone again. Like meanwhile, the company that one of her best friend runs, that she's a part of, that Rue is a part of, their loan has just been bought out by a company who's trying to take over. So it's like that's happening. Meanwhile, other stuff is happening. I don't want to spoil it, but holy shit. I absolutely I am unwell about this book. I love the main I love both Rue, just because I mentally very much interact with people like that. I know I'm not actually really a talkative person unless I know you incredibly well, and I'm not very good with social interaction. So this Rue, me, yes. I love the male main character. He's fantastic. I have no words to properly describe how much I love the main character other than just primal screaming. I really don't want to scare the neighbors, so we're just gonna leave it at that. I haven't read Deep End yet. Oh my god. Oh, I've been so mad because I've wanted Deep End to come. I have it in the teapot already, and then I have new release slips that I put into the teapot in case something comes out that I really, really want to read, and the slip hasn't come out of my teapot yet, and Deep End doesn't come out. I needed it. When I finished this book, I needed Deep End yesterday, so like you can just imagine how much pain I'm in currently, knowing I have to wait until. Why do I do this to myself? I don't know, but here we are. So yes, first book of the month was a success. So the second book that I read for the month actually like super duper surprised me and became the first 5-star of the month, which I was not expecting, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I was really surprised because if you know me, and I did not really like The Pride of the Orange Tree, and then I liked the prequel to it that she wrote after a bit more. Why am I forgetting? Oh, A Day of Fallen Night. I liked A Day of Fallen Night a little bit more than A Priory of the Orange Tree, but I still didn't really love it. I felt like the world was well built out and that the characters, especially in A Day of Fallen Night, were like pretty fleshed out. However, I found the writing to be incredibly slow and hard to get through, and I just never really wanted to pick up the book. Like, it was such a chore every day. Like, I literally, it felt like reading a textbook because I would set out like a page goal, and that was the only way I got through it, and that's not how I usually read. So my surprise when I start reading this, and I physically can't put it down because I was like, I need to know. I need to know what happens next. And I just was not aware that Samantha Shannon could write like that, because The Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night are not like that at all. I think what also helps is that we're in first person, I believe. Yes, we're in first person for most of this book, which I think is her strong suit. I understand that the other two books that I've read by her are meant to be a different genre, like high fantasy, versus this one's more, what is this? I think it's technically dystopian fantasy would be correct. But I don't know, I just didn't expect it. If you've never read The Bone Season, it's about a girl who lives in a like very authoritarian, totalitarianism type government where to create safety, they must kill off all the people with magical powers. And like, if you're a person who was born with magical powers, you have two options. You can either work in the military force for 2 years and help capture other people who have magical powers, and you will be killed after the 2 years, or you can just go straight to being killed. Our main character, she has an incredibly rare power, which attracted one of the mafia bosses of the magical people underground. And so because of that, she's been able to stay safe until this point. And one of the first things that happens is that she's captured and she doesn't go where she thought she was going to go. And that's all I can really give, because I feel like the surprise after that is one of the best parts of the book. So that's where I'm stopping. It is incredibly dystopian and fantasy, which I think I already said. And it's set in like London. Oh no, actually, I did have a little bit of a hard time with the main character, because sometimes I'm like, girl, chill. Like, no, don't, no, why? I understand you're upset, but like, can you please chill for like a hot second? I did have it, but I'm pretty sure, I think this book is YA. I believe this is YA, and it's like a little bit expected for YA, so I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. Yeah, and I did, however, I really love this book in the sense where, like, one, the writing was easy, and I enjoyed the world, and I thought the magic system was really cool. I thought all the characters were very well fleshed out, and I know this is the beginning of a series, so I can't wait to see where this goes. Yeah, I think that's like a majority of it. I couldn't put it down, which was helpful. I will admit, however, that one of the reasons I think I really like this was, so if you'll notice, I have a 10th anniversary special edition that I got at a used bookstore, and that is because this is apparently, she used this chance of a new edition to re-edit the original story to make it more coherent and like more tightly knit, which, if you know me, that is something that is so important to me. Like, I really hate really loose and untailored stories, so I think that definitely helped. I would have to read one of the original editions before to like compare to see if that actually helped a lot, but she did say it in her author's note that she was able to rewrite the whole thing now knowing what she knows as an author. I was a little bit surprised again that I enjoyed it, but just knowing from how tightly knit Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night are, despite their like length, I was still surprised, and I really enjoyed this. So the next book that I read was one of my very few nonfiction books that I plan on reading for the year, and that book is Austentatious, The Ever-Evolving World of Jane Austen Fans by Holly and Zoe. Last names that I cannot pronounce. Sorry. But basically, this book is a bunch of fan essays about different aspects of Jane Austen fandom, and honestly, I found it fascinating. I do really I say that I'm a big fan of Jane Austen, but the truth is I've only read Pride and Prejudice and then also only seen the 2005 Pride and Prejudice like a bajillion or so times, which I found out through this book is not actually the version that like Pride and Prejudice fans like actually hold on to. They like the BBC one with Colin Firth, and I had no idea. I was like, no, this is, and for me, the 2005 Pride and Prejudice is like the version. But I found that out. And I also did not know that Clueless was a Jane Austen adaptation, and that was really cool to learn about. So kind of just stuff like that. It also goes into a little bit about, there's a whole chapter on Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies and like horror mashup AUs and like sexuality in Austen, and then yeah, it's a very fun book. I enjoy it. Definitely a little bit more on the academic side. I did really enjoy the personality of the two writers. I feel like with more academic text you can sometimes struggle to find, like, I don't know, sometimes when you read an academic text you're like, does this person actually like their field of study? And you can tell that these two like genuinely love the topic that they're writing about, which I thought was very fun to read. So if you're into fandom studies, I would suggest this one. This one's fun. I ended up rating it a 4-star. Give up if you want to see what the world of fandom studies is like and you like Jane Austen. I would suggest this one a lot. So the next book that I read for the month was the third book in the Waterfire saga. It's called Dark Tide, and this one's by Jennifer Donnelly. Well, they're all by Jennifer Donnelly. Whoopsies. They're a series. Yes, these books are basically, they start off with a young mermaid princess named Seraphina who is about to be crowned queen for her nation. And before she can be, there's a coup that throws her out of the nation. Along with trying to take her kingdom back, she receives a prophecy that says that she has to meet 6 other mermaids in this location and meet this mystical witch, and they have to help overthrow these like dark demons that have been long forgotten since Atlantis sunk. It's much better. The lore is much better than I'm currently explaining it, but we're gonna go with that. And this is the third book, which I think I've mentioned, and this one got incredibly dark, and I was not expecting it. This one mainly focuses on Astrid, which was not really in this first or second book. This one's main focus is on Astrid, who's kind of like the villain-ish of the group of the girls, because she comes from a kind of a misunderstood country, and her country is being blamed for a lot of what's happening in Seraphina's. So it was really cool to finally learn about her. This one, however, is incredibly dark. There is actually a group of chapters where one of the mermaids is sent to like a work camp. The description of this camp sounded very familiar to something in history that, if you, yep, do you get where I'm going? That's exactly what it was. And I was like, this is incredibly alarming, which I think was what the author was going for. She wanted to really emphasize how horrible like this leader guy who, yes, is. And yeah, it honestly, I had a hard time getting through this book just because I was like, this is incredibly dark. I don't yeah, and I think I had kind of just finished the Bone season, which was dystopian, and this book really kind of like bleeds a little bit into dystopian, and I was like, oh, I think I need a break from dystopian for a little while. I ended up rating it a 4 stars. It was good. Like, the story writing is definitely a lot better than the first one. The writing was a lot better than the first one, and I feel like now that we know a bit more about the characters, it is a lot easier to follow and like actually feel really involved in their story. I think the only reason it kind of missed a 5-star for me is the pacing is really odd in some places, and I really wish there was a balanced way to kind of include all 7 mermaids instead of focusing, like, you introduce us to all 7 in the first book, which one of my main complaints about that one was that it was incredibly rushed, and like we don't actually get to know them. And then I understand like what she's trying to do, focusing on like 2 or 3 each book, but I feel like that makes it feels unbalanced. Also, there's a lot of just like random insta love in these books, like the girls knowing like a merman for like 2 seconds and they're like, ah yes, this is the love of my life. Other than Seraphina, who like her love interest, she's known for a long time and they were childhood friends. The rest of them are like, I've known this person for 2 days and I will forever be in love with them. I'm like, this is a little weird. We needed a little bit more thought, especially because this is a series, so you have a little bit more time to build this. So a lot of those relationships feel like they should all get love interests. So here is a guy, and I don't know, I don't really like that. So because of that, 4 star. Okay, next book. So the next book, I know I said I was like, oh, I need a break from dystopian, but I did not get one. This is the one problem with using a TBR and like being really, really rigid to my TBR. Could I have skipped this book and been like, this has been a little much, I'm gonna come back to it? Yes, absolutely. But did I let myself do that? No. And the next book was Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. This is the 3rd book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. And this one was incredibly dark. This book takes place in 1940s Europe, because they move around a bit, and it follows Jacob. In the first book, he goes on a trip with his dad to this little island where I think his dad plans on bird watching, and he struggles with depression, and his grandfather has just died, ? And because of that, he takes to exploring the island, and he accidentally runs into what is called a time loop that protects peculiar children from the outside world and people who want to experiment on them. Some things happen, and basically we ended up here in the third book. I believe this is... I'm a little confused because I thought there was one more book after this, but this seems to be the end. I don't really understand what's going on. I know, so this is... Can I help you, Herman? Ooh, trying to eat our foot? Is your foot delicious? Okay. I am a little confused because I thought this seems like the last one, but I know A Map of Days is out and exists, and I've seen it, so I'm not really sure. Is this the conclusion of the trilogy? Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children fans, help me out here. This book was a lot more interesting than the second one. I don't know why I struggled so hard getting through the second one. This one, I did struggle a little bit at the beginning, but once like the plot picked up, I really liked it. What's really hard is I read a lot of series, and I feel like what's really hard for me is figure out a way to explain the books without giving any kind of spoilers for the series, because I want people to be able to like watch this and be like, oh, maybe I'll pick up the series, but I also want to talk about the books more in depth. So maybe one day I'll do more in-depth videos about books and series, but right now we're just gonna go with it. Oh, I was surprised. They did. So if you know my issue, one of my biggest issues with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children books is that there's this weird age gap romance kind of situation that's going on. More like, so think it's kind of like a vampire situation where like the vampire is like 500 years old and then like the person is not, you know, they're a normal person who hasn't aged like crazy. And this book has a similar kind of issue because of the time loops, but they do fix it. The way they fixed it was very, kind of like, what's it called when suddenly, like, the universe just, like, fixes a plot hole because they're like, yes, this thing happened and this thing is now magically fixed. Sup, editing me. I have now figured out what I was trying to say in that part, and it's Deus Ex Machina. I'll put it up right here on the screen, because I definitely 100% pronounced that incorrectly. But basically, it's a phrase that comes from Greek plays. Basically meaning, like, I think the direct translation is, like, God of the machine, or, like, by the hand of God. And basically, it's just referring to when, like, something unexpectedly, like, resolves itself all of a sudden. Like, no foreshadowing. Like, all of a sudden, this thing was created to fix this problem. Kind of. Like a god is kind of sticking their hand in and being like, I will now remove this thing to make the thing that you want. Yeah, I'm over-explaining. But basically, yeah, that's where it comes from. Cool, back to me from like 2 weeks ago now. This book kind of does that. Am I completely mad about it? No. Am I a little weirded out by it? Yes. Just like the entire age gap romance throughout this entire series. I'm still debating if I want to read A Map of Days. I feel like I've gone this far, I might as well. But it's not very high on my priority list. I might get it from the library instead of purchasing it. Or if like the used bookstore I go to has it, then I will get it from them. But yeah, it's not up there. I'm not really begging the teapot to get it. So I ended up rating it 4-star. Yeah, that seems about right. The pacing and the writing is very good. The writing is incredibly interesting. I like the way this author writes. It's just that with the age gap romance and then like a couple of things, yeah, it just wasn't a 5-star for me. I'm getting hungry. Let's finish. I only have 2 books left to go. Let's do this. So the next book is a little bit different. I did in fact finish a textbook. This book is called My First 500 Korean Words. Basically it's just what it sounds like. It's 500 Korean vocabulary words and they're split into 50 days. So you're supposed to learn 10 a day, and they have like dictionary entries and then like a short... Could we not do that right now, please? Okay, sorry if you hear the squeaky toy. Herman has decided that the squeaky toy is what he wants to do right now. Each chapter has, like... Each chapter has, some vocabulary words, and then, like, a short story where they, like, use all the vocabulary words. Dictionary entries of, like, the word, and then, like, important meanings or like related words, which I thought was really cool. I really appreciated that because in my Korean class we would get like the vocab word, and then we wouldn't get like we never really did like antonym exercises or like related word synonym or antonym exercises, which was so hard for me because in my brain I have a hard time just like learning words that kind of don't exist in context, and then the more context that I have, the better it is and the more ability I have to use it. So this gave me a lot of context that I was missing from class. And then it has like the same short story from the beginning, completely in Korean. Could you not do that? Literally underneath me, in between my feet. Yeah, and then it has like a word we have to match, and then it lose my mind. I'm gonna take that away from you. So this damn squeaky toy. Herman! Please! Let me record! Thank you. It has like matching words and then the crossword and then like putting words into the sentence. And yeah, I really liked it. I have heard a lot of the people who put this together. It's by a company called Talk to Me in Korean. I've heard a lot of good things about their other textbooks. Do I want to continue using like their textbooks and stuff? Yes, however, they are very, very expensive. What is really hard about a lot of language learning products is you have to have both the textbook and the workbook, and then you can kind of learn. I feel like having one without the other is difficult, and of course they're insanely expensive, and I understand that like putting things together takes a lot of time and energy and resources. Like having the textbooks is incredibly helpful. Yeah, but because I'm not in class, I'm done. You're done. We're done. You're done. So from now on, I think I'm going to be using this brand of textbook. So it's from a company called Talk to Me in Korean, which I've only heard like really good things about. However, they are very expensive, just like any other language learning material that uses like textbooks. I found it for French and for Spanish and now for Korean that they just tend to be more pricey, which is really unfortunate. But I mean, I understand to some degree. It's just I hate the fact that education costs money. Like, I think that is the most annoying thing ever. However, apparently, that was Herman. Move back, tripod. So the textbooks that I used in my college classes, I did like, and they were vetted by my teachers. However, according to my classmates who went to do the upper levels after I graduated, they said that the textbook structure really changes, and I tend to struggle with that. I am really worried about the change in the type of way the content is presented, because now like my brain has like knows how it works. So if it's going to change, then I might as well change to a different textbook that I know is vetted and I know I can understand, because there's a lot of people who use the Talk to Me in Korean textbooks, and I know there's a lot of resources on TikTok and stuff how other people use the books. And because of that, I think I am switching to the Talk to Me in Korean series. That's all to say. I ended up rating it a 5-star. I think this is a great beginner. You know what? I think this is a great beginner tool. If you are already learning Korean, I would not suggest like picking this up to learn Korean without like this is your first textbook, because the sentences and the stories are only really helpful if you know the specific kinds of endings. I did notice, like, even though this is marked as a beginner textbook, towards every story seems to get a little bit harder, and like once you get to the end, there's a lot of endings that I didn't even learn until my 4th semester of Korean in school. So definitely would not suggest this as like just like the first textbook that you buy. I would definitely look into like a real like series like grammar books before you go into vocabulary. This is a great like supplementary material if you already know how to use structures, but I would not use it for your first attempt. Yes, okay, next. So now for the last book that's going to be in this video, it's actually a volume of manga, and it is volume 1 of the Apothecary Diaries. You don't understand how excited I am that I finally get to read this series. Season 2 just started coming out. I literally caught up with the dub yesterday. I do watch the dub. I'm sorry, sub people. I just can't do it. I can't. I don't have brain power. I need the subs. Plus, I really like the voice actors. So, and I'm so excited. Yeah, I do have to wait for more of the volumes to come out of the teapot, but I love them so much, and I'm so happy. So I'm an INTP, and I believe Mao Mao is also an INTP, and it feels really good to finally have a female character that I really like who's also an INTP, because a lot of INTP characters are like guys, and like it kind of sucks because please, I love Mao Mao. I love Mao Mao so much, and Jinxi's so funny. I love all the concubines. I love oh, that's a crazy story if you don't know what these are about. So, the Apothecary Diaries is about Mao Mao, who works as an apothecary in the Pleasure District with her adopted father, and this is set in ancient China, and she's kidnapped and sold into, not really slavery, because they technically get paid, but it's against her will. She's basically contracted to work in what's called the Rear Palace in, the palace of the emperor, and in the Rear Palace is where all the emperor's concubines live. So Mao Mao is trying to keep her head down and not really get into trouble. However, she works amongst, I think, in the laundry department, and like most of the girls that she works with are illiterate and can't read. However, due to her apothecary experience, she finds out that there's the babies of the high-ranking concubines have gotten sick, and she knows how to fix it. So in trying to help the concubines, she is caught to know that, like, to be able to read and write, so she's promoted to a lady in waiting to one of the high-ranking concubines. So because of that, it's all the silly trouble that she gets into now working in the Rear Palace, and there's this high-ranking official named Jinxi who won't leave her alone. Hey, that's my bracelet. Who won't leave her alone, and it is so fun. It is fantasy, and it is a historical fantasy, I guess. And then Herman needs a nap, and he's not being very nice about it. He needs to calm down, so he's in my lap now. The most slow burn of slow burning, and it is so good. Mao Mao's so funny. Jinxi's hilarious. Yeah, I love them. I love them so much, and I think I need them now, actually. I need all of them. We're gonna put it on top for now. Yeah, so if you've made it this far, congratulations, you've made it to the end of the video. I appreciate you guys for watching. Guys, we're at 40 subscribers. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and left a like. Let's see, for this month, did you read any romance? Do you like reading romance during February because of Valentine's Day? If so, leave me a comment. Tell me what you read this month. Okay, I think that's it. Bye! Don't fall. Please. Please. Oh, my sign! I'm messing up. Herman, say bye. Don't bite my fingers. Owie. Say bye, Herm.